to Krishna Premarupa Prabhu, and I would just request you to come a little closer if you can, so that when we have latecomers, they can also find a space as close as possible. It's also encouraging for the speaker. Und für diejenigen, die gerne eine Übersetzung hätten, würden wir uns da in der Ecke so ein bisschen versammeln. Dann kann ich vom Englischen aufs Deutsche auch übersetzen.
Requires a musician. Thank you. Good. Jayoratha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayoratha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayoratha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayoratha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopichana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopichana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopichana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopichana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brachachana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brachachana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brachachana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brachachana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jayoratha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayoratha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Gaur Premanande Hari Bol. Okay, Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we start with reading from the Bhagavad Gita. This is from chapter 12, called Devotional Service. And we read text 13 and 14. Adveshta sarva bhutanam maitri karuna evacha nirmana nirankara samadukka sukakshami santushta satatam yogi yatatama tritanishchayaha maya arpita mano buddhir yo mat bhakta samay priyaha. Translation: one who is not envious but is a kind friend to all living entities, who does not think himself a proprietor and is free from false ego, who is equal in both happiness and distress, who is tolerant, always satisfied, self-controlled, and engaged in devotional service with determination, his mind and intelligence fixed on me, such a devotee of mine is very dear to me. So this is Krishna speaking to Arjuna on explaining who is dear to him. And this is a series of shlokas, about 8 texts, where Krishna describes different qualities, and at the end he always says, and one who has these qualities, he's very dear to me. And he is very dear to me. And one who has these qualities is very dear to me. So I found it inspiring to see that Krishna, God himself, tells us what he likes, or which qualities he likes. So I felt it's a nice topic we can try to speak and try to hear about. What do we need to do to please Krishna, or what is required that Krishna is happy. So purport. Coming again to the point of pure devotional service, the Lord is describing the transcendental qualification of a pure devotee in these two verses. A pure devotee is never disturbed in any circumstances. Nor is he envious of anyone. Nor does a devotee become his enemy's enemy. He thinks, this person is acting as my enemy due to my own past misdeeds. So it is better to suffer than to protest. In Srimad Bhagavatam 10:14-8 it is stated, Tatam tatenu kampam susamikshamano vunjana ivatma kritam vipakam. Whenever a devotee is in distress or has fallen into difficulty, he thinks that it is the Lord's mercy upon him. He thinks, thanks to my past misdeeds, I should suffer far, far greater than I am suffering now. So it is by the mercy of the Supreme Lord that I am not getting all the punishment I am due. I am just getting a little by the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, he is always calm, quiet, and patient, despite many distressful conditions. A devotee is also always kind to everyone, even to his enemy. Nirmaman means that a devotee does not attach much importance to the pains and trouble pertaining to the body, because he knows perfectly well that he is not the material body. He does not identify with the body, therefore is free from the conception of false ego, and is equiposed in happiness and distress. He is tolerant, and he is satisfied with whatever comes by the grace of the Supreme. He does not endeavor much to achieve something with great difficulty, therefore is always joyful. He is completely perfect mystic because he is fixed in the instructions received from the spiritual master, and because his senses are controlled, he is determined. He is not swayed by false arguments because no one can lead him from the fixed determination of devotional service. He is fully conscious that Krishna is eternal, the eternal Lord, so no one can disturb him. All these qualifications enable him to fix his mind and intelligence entirely on the Supreme Lord. Such a standard of devotional service is undoubtedly very rare, but a devotee becomes situated in this stage by following the regulative principles of devotional service. Furthermore, the Lord says that such a devotee is very dear to him, for the Lord is always pleased with all his activities in full Krishna consciousness. Okay, so that's the text which we base on our speech. I read again the translation. One who is not envious, but is a kind friend to all living entities, who does not think himself a proprietor, and is free from false ego, who is equal in both happiness and distress, who is tolerant, always satisfied, self-controlled, and engaged in devotional service with determination, his mind and intelligence fixed on me, such a devotee of mine is very dear to me. Om Jnanatimirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshuram Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Namo Bhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayam Dadati Swapatantikam Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindubhya Evacha Patitanam Papanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So, at the end of the explanation, Prabhupada says, such standard of devotional service is rare. So Prabhupada agrees. This is quite high level, no? No, if you listen this, I don't know how you feel when you listen this. It's like, what free from false ego, equal in both happiness and distress, always tolerant, always satisfied. It's like, no, Wow, yeah. Quite a yogi, right? Quite a self-realized person. So we may not yet there, but someone who has achieved such a position, he's very dear to Krishna. When we speak of Krishna, we mean God. No, it's a name of God, and so God is very happy with someone who has such a personality, such a character. But Prabhupada also says that by following the process of devotional service, we can attain such a platform. We can actually cultivate these qualities. And then we become very dear to Krishna. And we may ask ourselves, why is it so important to be dear to Krishna? Well, if you know who Krishna is, you want to be dear. You want to be dear to him. No? If you understand who God actually is, then you want to be close to him, because Krishna is a very, very special person, and he's actually the object of love. Everyone wants to have love. Everyone wants to have loving relationship, but that personality, Krishna, is actually the source of all love, of all happiness. So naturally, we want to be with him, and we want to close to him, and we want to be dear to him. Our problem is usually we are not so much thinking about Krishna, we are more thinking about ourselves, or maybe we want to be, we are concerned what other people think about us, right? So we are more concerned about that. There is one funny story. It's a well-known story in India, the father, the son, and the donkey. A father and a son, they went to some far place, distant place. They bought a donkey for their farm. They need someone to carry loads. So they're walking and walking back to their village, and then some other people on the street, they were like criticizing. These fools, they got a donkey, but they're just walking. They could ride on the donkey, isn't it? They thought, yeah, it's true. We paid a lot of money for this donkey, and we're walking. So let's take a ride. So they jumped on the back of the donkey, and both of them were continuing the journey. And when they came to the next village, some people were saying, this poor animal, has to carry 2 people. This is very bad, So they were again criticized. And the father said, okay, maybe it's right. So he got off and he walked. Then a little later, another person was saying, this young fellow, he's sitting there, and the old man has to walk. So in this way, there always someone kind of said something, and they changed position, and then the father sat on the donkey, and the son walked. But then another person said, such a selfish man. No, he's enjoying the ride, and the young man has to walk all the way. So they became fed up, like what to do. So they took a long bamboo stick. They just, tied the donkey upside down to a long bamboo, and they just carried the donkey. And when they finally reached home, everyone was laughing. Like, what are you doing? You bought a donkey, and now you carry that donkey. Why do you carry the donkey? And then the man explained what to do. Like first we were walking, they criticized, and then this, and then that. And then the elder of the village said, why you're really foolish? Because you don't use your own sense, you don't use your own intelligence to make decisions. You always just listen what others say. You just, you don't use your own intelligence. And the moral of the story is, you can't please everyone. You can't please everyone. You do something, and some people will criticize you. Do something else, people will criticize. So it's very difficult. It's not possible to please everyone, right? But we are very concerned about trying to please everyone. We want to look cool on Facebook and Instagram, and everyone should like us. But a devotee, he's not so much concerned what other people think about him, but he is concerned what Krishna thinks about him. That's important to him. He knows my Guru and Krishna, how they see me, that's important. What other people think, it's difficult. There is misunderstanding, people will misunderstand me. But Krishna is in my heart and he knows. So better I should I should try to please Krishna. And actually, all the Shastras in the Vedic scriptures, they always emphasize that we should perform our duties, we live our lives, whatever we do, but we should try to please Krishna. And if we do so, then we attain perfection. And it's not even necessary that everyone becomes a monk and lives in an ashram, in a temple. It's not required. You can continue whatever you do in life, but you just try to do it. Whatever you do, you try to do it for the pleasure of Krishna. That's the idea. And then when we try to please Krishna, then as we heard from this text, Krishna gives some indication what pleases him. And sometimes we think in terms of religion, if I'm a very pious person, if I'm a very good person, then God will love me. Or if I'm very learned, or if I'm very austere, if I do some very far out yoga exercises, then God will love me. But here we can see actually God loves us. What is important for him is our behavior, how we behave. Also how we behave to other people, other living entities. Because those who love God, they also love his children, they love the other living entities, including the animals. So that's how we please the Lord. There's many ways this is expressed in the scripture. And in the text that we read, of course, we have some examples. We should be non-envious, we should be kind, we should be free from false ego, and as we said, it's not so easy, but these qualities, they should be developed over time. Like envy is something very destructive usually. What is envy? We usually we are motivated by our desires. We want something, we want to attain something, and if we get what we want, what happens? We become greedy, we want more. And if we don't get what we want, what happens? We become angry, right? And if someone else gets what we wanted, then we become envy. So these are all these emotions, these negative emotions that kind of are there in our hearts. But envy is especially very negative, because usually envy leads towards harming others. Because envy means we can't tolerate that someone else has what I want. I so badly want something, and then someone else comes and takes it. Then I feel very. And what we usually do, then we try to pull the other person down, in some ways. Like if I'm a chef, I cook. So if I cook a nice lunch, everyone glorifies me. Oh, you cooked so nicely. I feel very good. Yeah, everyone likes my cooking. But if someone else shows up and that person cooks better than me, everyone starts to glorify that cook. Then I become very morose. And then maybe one day I enter the kitchen and nobody sees me. I put some salt into the item, and then everyone say, "Oh, very bad cooking today." And I will feel like, very good. So that's usually where envy leads us, and envy leads us to, and that's why envy is a very bad quality. So Krishna says, those who are non-envious, they're very dear to me. Krishna doesn't like if we have these qualities in the heart, and that's why we are meant to purify our existence. We are meant to purify our hearts from these negative qualities in order to become dear to Krishna. And also one who does not think himself a proprietor and is free from the false ego. It's interesting. In this world, usually we always think in terms of I and mine. And especially we think that I am the enjoyer and I am the controller, right? We think that first of all, we think that I am like life is like a movie, and I'm the main actor, right? And whatever I see is meant for my enjoyment, and I need to control my environment so that I can be happy. But the problem is, if everyone is doing that, then we get some conflicts, right? And first of all, that role is already occupied by someone else. And who is that? Krishna, God. No, God is the ultimate enjoyer, and He is the ultimate controller. And we are meant to serve God and please Him. But because we think, no, I want to take the role of God, I want to be myself in the center, I want to enjoy myself, I want to control myself, that's why we come into this world. That's the world of those who want to imitate the position of God. But it never works, and that's the problem. That's why, and false ego means I and mine. It means, I develop attachment to things, to people, and I think they belong to me, and I want to enjoy them. So that all creates a lot of challenges. So one who understands this and becomes sober and wise and detached, he becomes very dear to Krishna. And one who is able to tolerate, that's a difficult one. Because life is tough, sometimes it's not so easy. But then to be able to tolerate, you can only tolerate if you have some depth, like a tree that has very deep roots. Even if there is a big storm, the tree will stay. But if the tree has only very little roots, then it will be uprooted. So similarly, if we are deep in our own spiritual life, then we are able to tolerate many things. That's why spiritual life is meant to cultivate also our ability to deal with the world, to what happened outside. So these are some qualities we can try to develop to become close to Krishna, or dear to Him. Of course, Krishna also speaks about devotion, that those who want to know me, those who want to come close to me, they should worship me, and they should perform devotional service. We call it bhakti, bhakti yoga. Bhakti yoga means to offer our activities for the pleasure of the Lord, and we want to have a loving relationship with Krishna, with the Lord. And of course, one who is doing so, one who serves Krishna, he becomes very dear to Him. Like in the 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, text 34, Krishna says, "Manmana bhavamat bhakto madhyachi mam namashkuru." That engage your mind always in thinking of me, become my devotee, offer your respects and worship me. So one who becomes a devotee of Krishna, one who worships Krishna, who thinks about Krishna, of course, he becomes very dear to Krishna. That's clear. For example, it's also said, those who chant the name of Krishna, that's also a way to become very dear to Him. Like in Hare Krishna movement, we are known for chanting Hare Krishna, right? So we chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So why do we do that? Yes, because it's a powerful mantra and it helps us to purify our heart, right? And it's recommended in this age, it's recommended as being a powerful method to attain self-realization. That's why we chant the mantra. But ultimately, we chant the mantra because it's pleasing to Krishna. And we have often given the example, like if we call out the name of someone, the person becomes attentive. What is your name? Rolf. Rolf, right? Rolf. So if Ralph or Rolf? Rolf. With okay, Ralph. Okay, sorry. So if someone is calling Ralph, then what will you do? You will someone is calling my name. Someone is looking for me. So immediately you become attentive, right? Or if someone is saying have you seen Ralph? I think he's a very sincere practitioner. He looks like a yogi, the way he sits there. No, someone is glorifying Ralph, and how do you feel? You feel like, oh, they speak nicely about me. That's good. Yeah, it feels good. It's nice. Some attention is given to Ralph, so Ralph feels nice. So Krishna, God, is also a person, and if we give some attention to him, he also feels happy. And the thing is, Krishna, of course, he's such a powerful personality, and he's Atmaram. He's satisfied in himself. It's not that he needs us, he's completely happy, But, although he has everything, the only thing he doesn't have is our love, is our attention. And Krishna actually is very much interested in a relationship with us. So if we, after many lifetimes, we have turned our face away from God, if we again go towards him, and then Krishna becomes very happy. Oh, this person shows interest. He again calls my name. So when we chant his name, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, okay, yeah. So Hare Rama, Hare Krishna devotees are always very enthusiastic to chant. So, but yeah, Krishna likes it. Krishna is very happy. Krishna, because that's a way we try to connect with him. And there is a statement in Shastra that one who chants my name, I feel so indebted, I can never repay that debt. I feel so attracted to that person who calls out my name with love, of course. If you're just like a parrot, Hare Krishna, then, when it's done with love, then Krishna becomes attracted. So that's another way to become dear to Krishna. So we spoke about developing good qualities, and to develop devotion, of course, naturally that's attractive to Krishna. And there is another way to become close to Krishna, and that's kind of a secret, a special secret. And that is, we become dear to Krishna. Anyone can guess what is the secret, how to become dear to Krishna? We have not mentioned yet. I need a little time to find the shloka so you can guess. We mentioned that already. Yes, someone who is always thinking of Krishna, of course he becomes surface devotees. Yes, exactly. That's the secret. Let me see. Yeah, this is from Srimad Bhagavatam, is another scripture, the Bhagavad Purana. There this is 4:21-39. It says, Yat seva yasyesa guyashaya swarit vipra priyastushyati kamamam ishvara tat eva tat dharma parairminatai sarvatmana brahma kulan nisheva yattam. Something like this. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is everlasting, independent, and who exists in everyone's heart, is very pleased with those who follow in his footsteps and engage without reservation in the service of the descendants of Brahmanas and Vaishnavas. For he is always dear to Brahmanas and Vaishnavas, and they are always dear to him. And Prabhupada says, it is said that the Lord is most pleased when he sees one engaged in the service of his devotee. He does not need any service from anyone because he is complete. But it is in our own interest to offer all kind of service to him. These services can be offered to the Supreme Person not directly but through the service of Brahmana and Vaishnava. Brahmana and Vaishnava are devotees of Krishna. Srila Narottam Das Thakur sings, Jadiya Vaishnava Seva Nishtara Payeche Keba, which means that unless one serves the Vaishnavas and Brahmanas, one cannot get liberation from the material clutches. So that's from the Shastra, the scriptures. So the secret is that we may try to directly do something to give pleasure to God, do some service, some puja, some worship, some prayer. And maybe Krishna is happy and maybe not. Right? But if you serve the Vaishnavas, Krishna will be guaranteed, he will be very happy. Why? Because his devotees are very, very dear to him. They are more dear to him than his own self. So if someone tries to please some of his devotees, he becomes extremely happy, extremely satisfied and pleased. There is this story, some of you know the story, from Kanchipurna, who lived in Kanchipuram. Kanchipuram is a holy place in South India. And there was a priest, and this priest, he was well known that he had a mystical ability that he could talk to God, which is quite nice if you can have a direct conversation, right? We offer prayers and we wonder, did he hear my prayers and what will he answer? We don't know. But he could directly talk. So he would daily go to the temple, and he would offer some fresh air, like with a chamara, this is like a vedel, how you say in English? Like something to give fresh air, to serve, do some worship to the form of God, and then he would talk to him. So one person came and asked, since you are talking with God, can you ask God or Vishnu, how long will it take before I can go back to him, into the spiritual world? So then, okay, I can do so. He asked, the priest asked, and Krishna, Vishnu replied, this person will go back after this lifetime, because he is very much attached to you. So he will go back to God. And then the priest, okay, he told him. And then the same day he was wondering, what about myself? It's a good question, no? Because how many lifetimes will it take before I can go back to the spiritual world? So he asked himself, hey, Vishnu, what about me? Will I also go back? And you would expect yes, because he already talks to God. But then Vishnu says, no, you not. Because only those who serve my devotees can come to me. And he served directly, but he didn't serve the devotees, right? So at that moment he dropped the bell and the chamara, and he left the altar. And then he said, oh, I have to serve the devotees, those who are close to Krishna. So then he disguised himself as a simple cowherd boy, and he went to Mahapurna. Mahapurna was a great Vaishnava, so he went there and offered service as a simple cowherd boy. So he took care of the cows and cleaned the places and like that. And for many months he served without anyone knowing, because he was a well-known priest. But he hid it. Then one day there was a storm, was rain, so he came completely wet. He came back to his place, and he had to take off his wet clothes. And the only dress that he had was his sadhu cloth, like this orange cloth of a priest. And then he took this cloth, and then this owner of that farm came with some clothes, and then he saw him sitting there in this sadhu cloth. Then he recognized, hey, you're not a simple cowherd boy, but actually you are a priest from the temple. I cannot accept your service anymore, So then he had to go back to the temple, but he did offer some service. So when he went back, then Vishnu looked at him, and he smiled and said, you understood. Now you can also come back to me, because now you served the devotees. So that story just shows that we may try to serve God directly. It may work or may not, but if we serve other living entities, especially those who are close to Krishna, then we make a rapid advancement and we become very close to Krishna. That's one thing. And of course, then amongst these devotees, one person becomes especially prominent in our life, and that's the spiritual master. Those who are attached or connected with this movement, we are all following Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada is our teacher. And then those who follow him, his disciples have become our teacher today. So we follow these teachers, and to satisfy that teacher or our teacher also is a secret to become very close to Krishna. Those who are able to please them become very close. But there is another secret. There is another kind of devotees who become very dear to Krishna. And I again ask if you maybe guess who else becomes very dear to Krishna.
Those who tell others about Krishna.
Ribol, yes. Manu knew it. He knows the secret because he's doing it also. Krishna says at the end of Bhagavad Gita in the 18 chapters, he says, let me see whether I get it right here. Yeah. For one who explains this supreme secret, the wisdom of the Bhagavad Gita, the words of God, the Bhakti Yoga wisdom, for one who explains this to the devotees, pure devotional service is guaranteed, and at the end of he will come back to me. And then he says, there is no servant in this world more dear to me than he, nor will there ever be one more dear. So that's quite strong, right? So if someone knows about God and about spiritual life, and then if he tries to share that knowledge with others, he becomes extremely dear to Krishna. Sometimes people ask us, why do you Hare Krishna preach? No? Why you are a missionary? Are you missionaries? Like, we have seen you on the streets. Why are you doing this? And then they say, we have been to the Buddhist temple, and they said they don't preach; they just sit in meditation. And if someone likes, they just go and ask, but they don't go to people. No. And that's nice; they're peaceful. But you're aggressive. You're preaching. And that's a very common understanding. Those who go out and. But first of all, if you get something good, what are you doing usually? You want to share it. You go to the cinema and you see. I know you don't go to cinemas because you're very spiritual people. But if you would go to the cinema, and you watch a very nice movie, Avatar has come out, the second, I think. Yeah, but I haven't seen it, not yet. So then if you watch it and you say, it's really good, oh, it's amazing. So what do? You tell your friends, you have to see it, you have to see it. It's very natural. Or you read a nice book, and you have to read this book, or you go somewhere, you go to Hare Krishna temple, and you see that prasadam, that food is so good, and you have to also come. It's natural. So similarly, those who practice Bhakti Yoga, they experience so much satisfaction, so much happiness in their heart, and naturally they want to share it with others. It's quite natural, especially seeing the fact that so many people looking for some deeper meaning in life, they're looking for some happiness, and then we got such a beautiful process of spiritual life. Naturally, we like to share. And another reason is because Krishna also likes it. Because Krishna, he's like the Supreme Father, and he's very much interested people come back to him. So if we help and share the knowledge, then Krishna is very happy with that. So yes, those who share the knowledge, they also become very, very dear. Okay, but there is yet another category of devotees who become very dear to Krishna. Who becomes very dear to Krishna? What would you say? That's actually an obvious one, but we didn't touch so much on it. Those who have No, okay. Those who have fallen in love with God become very dear to him. Those who really love God, of course, they become very dear to him naturally. Those who fully surrender their life to him become very, very dear to him. And Krishna also advises, he says, Sarva dharma parityaja mamekam sharanam vraja. No, you just give up everything and just surrender yourself to me. That sounds a bit extreme, right? Before I said you can do whatever you do and just try to please Krishna. Now it says you have to fully surrender. But there is different ways how that full surrender can look like. But of course, the greatest examples are the gopis. Gopis in Vrindavan. These are the cow, how you say, cow herd damsels, like the young girls in that's when Krishna came to this world 5,000 years ago. He was on the countryside, and then he used to play his flute, and he played very beautifully flute. And he played so beautiful that all the young girls, they felt attracted by his sound. They would run to the forest to meet him, and to give pleasure to him. And they were giving up all their activities. It's described, some were, they were early married, some were serving their husbands, or some were taking care of the children, some were doing some household duties, but when they hearing the sound of Krishna's flute, they just dropped everything. They just, Krishna's calling, and then they just run into the forest. So anyhow, without going more into that pastimes, but these pastimes, it shows that the gopis were willing to just please Krishna. So they are the example of those who have fully given their life to God. And one way we also have learned about what it can mean, it also means that we try to follow according to the will of God. No, even in Christianity, right? There is the prayers where we say, "Your will be done," well, "Dein Wille geschehe." No, and that's an expression of full surrender, because usually we think, "My will shall be done," my way or the highway. It's like I have some ideas and that's how it should be, But then usually life teaches us a lesson that it's not always exactly the way we want, right? Usually we have to adjust a little bit, and those who want to become dear to God, dear to Krishna, they have to learn to be a little bit flexible, right? And and the Sanskrit word for the inhabitants of Vrindavan, those who live with Krishna in Vrindavan, there is the Brij basis, and Braja means one meaning is also those who move. They move according to the will of Krishna. Whatever Krishna does, they move along with him. And that's what we also need to learn, to accept the higher will of the Lord. And sometimes things happen in our life we don't like. But destiny just hits us, and it's the way it is, and we can't change anything about it. We may have another desire, we wanted to go in a different direction, right? But then it's different, and then we need to learn to tolerate, accept, and go along with the will of the Lord. And that's another way we can become very dear to Krishna, when we just accept and follow the will of the Lord. Okay, so these were some thoughts on these topics. Let me see. So we spoke about we want to become dear to Krishna because the goal of life is to please Krishna, to be close to him. And let's summarize, we can become dear to Krishna by developing good qualities, right? We said Krishna is not so much impressed by our knowledge, by our austerity, but especially by our qualities, how we deal with others. Then we can become close to Krishna by, what else did we say?
Serve devotees and Brahmins.
Yes, to serve the Vaishnavas, to serve the devotees of Krishna.
Preach.
By sharing Krishna consciousness with others.
And
Huh?
love Krishna.
Yeah, chanting, of course, performing devotional activities, showing our devotion by bhakti, yoga.
Full surrender.
And of course, at last we said full surrender. So these are all ways by which we can become very close to Krishna and dear to him. And some of you may be a little skeptical and say, why it's all about this Krishna? Why should he be satisfied? What about me? I also want to be happy. You say always we should become close to him and he should be satisfied. But what about me? But another secret is that when Krishna is happy, Yasmin tushte jagat tushtam. When Krishna is happy, everyone else is also happy. and I will. Time is almost up. Should I tell another story or?
Yes.
Okay, some of you know the story. It's the Pandavas, which were great devotees of Krishna. They were in the forest, and they were in exile. They had to be in the forest, and there was some evil, king who wanted to finish them up or kind of destroy them, and he had different ways he wanted to do that. So then he had a very creative mind. So one idea he had, there was one rishi, one sadhu. His name was Durvasa Muni. Durvasa means one. It's very difficult to live with, and because he's a powerful yogi, but he can become very easily angry. He can be very easily pleased if you do something right. He gives you blessings. For example, he blessed Srimati Radharani to become a good cook. So he pleased Krishna. She pleased Krishna by cooking. But he can also curse someone, and then you're doomed. If he becomes angry. So Duryodhan, he made arrangement to send that yogi to the Pandavas in the forest, along with his how many disciples? 60,000, something like Chaipat. Huh?
Duryodhan sent to Pandavas that Durvasa Rishi to send there.
Yes, but Durvasa didn't came alone, but he came with his disciples, like Chaipat.
Society approximately 52 or 51 reached with them.
Yes, that's like let's say 50,000 came with him, like Chaipataka Maharaj. No. he has many disciples. So then, now the problem is, these five men and their wife living in the forest. How can they feed so many saints? It's very difficult. So when they came, but they did had a magical pot actually. Like from this pot they could serve as much food as they want. They could, Akshay Patra. Of course, the Indians know the story. They have heard it when they were small children. So Akshay Patra. So from this magical pot, they could just serve food to many. So it was no problem. They could serve to all these saints. But the problem is, once they finished eating themselves, it was finished. No more would be produced. And when they arrived, they already had finished. So they were in a dilemma. So they told them, okay, you go to the river and take a bath. If you come back, we make arrangements. So they went to the river taking bath. But then what to do? We don't have something to feed them. And if they don't feed them, Durvasa Muni will come back, he will become angry, he will curse them, and then they are doomed. So what they did, they prayed to Krishna. Krishna, please save us. Krishna heard the prayer and immediately came to the forest, and he came to and asked Pandavas, Draupadi, right? He came, and then they were, oh, so happy you come. And then Krishna, the first thing he asked, do we have something to eat? I'm very hungry. And then they were like, Krishna, that's our problem. Come on, what you're saying? That's exactly our problem. And then Krishna, I can't think. I can't think of a solution. I need something to eat. Do you have something? And then they looked in the pot, and then there was a little, sometimes it says a little rice, or sometimes a little sak, a little sabji was there underneath. So they took this, they gave it to Krishna. Krishna ate it. And as soon Krishna ate this little prasad, Krishna was satisfied. And because Krishna was satisfied, everyone was satisfied. And all these 50,000 yogis, they were coming out of the water, and they felt like, oh, I feel like I had a big feast. We can't go there, otherwise we can't accept, so we better move. And they all left, and then they didn't return. And in this way, the Pandavas were saved from the curse of the Durvasa Muni. So the moral of the story is that when Krishna is satisfied, everyone is satisfied. That's why when we endeavor to become dear to Krishna, when we endeavor to please Krishna, we also will be happy, we also will be satisfied, because that's our nature. We are meant to do that. Like and Prabhupada gives the example, and with that I will end. If there is a tree you may try to give water to every leaf separately, but it's much more wise to give the water to the root, because if you give the water to the root, naturally all the leaves will also be nourished. So if you give the water to Krishna, or if you give love to Krishna, then naturally he will be pleased and everyone else also will be pleased, including yourself. That's why Prahlad says, if a beautiful woman stands in front of the mirror and she is doing some makeup or some, decoration, does she has to decorate the mirror separately? Stupid question, no? No, because the mirror, it reflects the picture. So similarly, because we are part and parcel of God, we are part of God. If He is satisfied, we naturally also become satisfied. And that's the signs of becoming happy. But we have forgotten about this, and that's why we try to find satisfaction outside by our selfish, material desires. But actually, we only need to turn to God, give pleasure to Him, and we also become happy. That's the simple art of Krishna consciousness. And if we learn this and apply and do, then we become very dear to Krishna, and we also become very happy and satisfied. Hare Krishna. Okay, that was what I tried to share. We've only 2 minutes left. If anyone has a question or a comment, we can try to answer. Has someone a question or any comments? Yes, please.
Hare Krishna, thank you very much for the lecture. I have a question how to develop this Krishna close relationship that he likes it, and how to avoid familiarity that is based on the false ego in this relationship.
So 2 questions: how to develop the relationship with Krishna, and
relationship which Krishna like, and how to avoid familiarity.
Familiarity.
Which is based on false ego in this relationship.
Okay, yeah. Okay, we'll try to keep it simple and short because we could go into depth. But I think the most important thing is to remember or to understand that God is a person. Krishna is an individual. And that's something not everyone agrees, maybe. Some people have a different understanding. God is a light and God is energy. And yes, God is light and God is energy. But He also is a personality. We are persons, why should He not be? So, and because Krishna is a person, an individual, what He really likes, if we treat Him as such, if we treat Him like an individual, that He really likes. And that means we should enter a relationship by treating Him as a person, by talking to Him, by offering prayers, by really developing that relationship. Because sometimes we do spiritual practices a bit mechanical. We just do this, we do that. But Krishna He really likes that if we approach Him in that personal way. And yes, there is Aishwarya and Madhurya. There is in one way we understand God is great, and then we have this respect. But then God is also our beloved, and then that becomes very intimate. So that's why it's important to hear about the greatness of God, how God is powerful, and that gives our respect. But then we also need to learn to develop that more personal relationship where we can have so both is required. Yeah, I would leave it by that. And okay, I think then we will end here. Thank you so much for coming to the temple and for your attention and listening to this, from the Bhagavad Gita and whatever we shared. I hope it was helpful and you can take something with you. And if some of you still have some question, I'm still here. You can also come to me and just ask questions personally. But the official part, I think we will end here. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Srila Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai. Hare Krishna.
HG Krishna Premarupa Dasa. Hare Krishna, just very quick. I don't want to hold you. So the program will continue on 6:15, but now first there's a very beautiful buffet waiting for you, and it's just on donation basis, means you can give what you can, but we do encourage, we also have to pay the bills in the end, and we're happy if you can also do some devotional service and show some appreciation by giving something, whatever you can.
That's another way to become dear to Krishna.
And then also another way.
That's a secret number 5.
Practical service opportunities also afterwards by helping in the kitchen services. We have to clean the kitchen. It's always a lot of fun. So if you're into that, you can see us at the kitchen downstairs at 6 o'clock. Thank you very much for coming, and Hare Krishna.
Der Größe genau kann Rache da wirklich nicht durch. Ich will alles mitnehmen. Du siehst ja, oder? Genau das, was er heute erzählt hat, das muss flexibel sein.
Yeah.